All right, we are staying on top of breaking news out of Venezuela. U.S.-backed opposition leader Juan Guaido has proclaimed himself the acting president. Earlier, he took part in a swearing-in ceremony with supporters surrounding him on the streets of Caracas. Also, a short time ago, President Trump released a statement recognizing Guaido as the interim president of that troubled South American country. And just yesterday, Vice President Mike Pence called Maduro a dictator in a video released on social media. This then prompted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to accuse the U.S. of launching a coup and ordered a total revision of relations with Washington, D.C.
Hola, I'm Mike Pence, the Vice President of the United States. The United States supports the courageous decision by Juan Guaido, the President of your National Assembly, to assert that body's constitutional powers, declare Maduro a usurper. Nicolas Maduro is a dictator with no legitimate claim to power.
Now, all of these developments are happening as ongoing protests continue across the streets of Venezuela. To discuss all of this, we're being joined now by former U.S. diplomat James Jatras. So, Jim, what do you make of this? President Trump recognizing Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela. This is odd, right, given that Guaido didn't even run for president?
It's really more than odd. It's a very, I think, serious and I think dangerous thing to do. Look, what business does the U.S. government or any other foreign government have in recognizing who's the legitimate constitutional representative of another country's political order? In 2016, should other governments have recognized Hillary Clinton as the real winner because she got more votes? Do we want somebody recognizing Nancy Pelosi as the legitimate leader of the United States because she's more representative of the American people? For a guy who's been the target of an anti-constitutional coup for over 2 years now, it seems a little odd that he now is turning around and playing that trick on some other government.
Yeah, this is very much the pot calling the kettle black. And speaking of Trump as a candidate, Trump ran on this kind of non-interventionist platform. But given Trump's decision today and Mike Pence's remarks yesterday, doesn't this smell of coup d'etat in the offing?
Well, the reason it smells like it is because that's what it looks like it is. This is regime change 101. Look, Trump was never really strictly a non-interventionist, let's say, of the libertarian or Ron Paul stripe or something of that sort. But he did indicate that we should follow our own national interests, sovereign interests. I don't see what those are here. But we should also respect the sovereignty of other countries. In his UN speech, for example, he said, I will always look out for the American people. You should look out for the people of your countries. Where's the America first here? And getting us embroiled into a potential civil war. Does any country ever get improve from that situation? Look what happened with Libya in 2011 with the Obama administration support for a split in that government and a civil war there. It didn't make Libya better off. It won't make Venezuela better off.
And continuing on that, this is a very different Trump than candidate Trump. This sounds very, very neocon. I mean, who's wagging the dog here? Marco Rubio, he's been on Twitter all day railing on this. He was even ahead of the president announcing this, if you look at his Twitter feed. So who's wagging who?
It's possible that Senator Rubio had an influence here. Look, you know, in the past few weeks, Donald Trump seems to have been coming back to some of the themes of his campaign, not only on standing his ground on building the wall, but also getting out of Syria, even talking about cutting down our commitment to Afghanistan. Maybe he feels he needs to give something back to the establishment or something. Maybe this is something that Mr. Bolton or Mr. Pompeo and Mr. Pence have pushed him into, and maybe he's hoping for the best, that we'll get a nice, clean regime change there instead of something much uglier, which may well occur.
In your experience, have you ever seen a nice, clean overthrow?
Sometimes. Hey, when we killed the Diem brothers in Vietnam, well, ultimately it didn't work out very well, but that particular regime change worked pretty well. When we removed Arbenz in Guatemala, we removed Mossadegh in Iran in the early 1950s, they were fairly clean regime change, but what came after that over a period of years wasn't necessarily good.
And in that case, is the U.S. then headed for a direct conflict with Venezuela?
It's quite possible. You know, one of the things that always upsets me, whether it's here now in Venezuela, whether we saw it in Ukraine 2014, other conflicts like this, is this kind of Bolshevik notion that the people all speak with one voice.
Right.
Clearly, Venezuela is a very divided society. That Mr. Guaido has supporters, Mr. Maduro has supporters. What you think we would be doing as a good neighbor would be try to encourage national reconciliation and peace, rather than this kind of weighing on one side, on the side of the people,
right,
as though the other half of the population are not really the people.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of how torn they are, within the government itself, we just learned that the National Assembly is backing Guaido while the courts are backing Maduro. I mean, what's going on there?
Well, exactly. I mean, we have a split of authority here, that we have the National Assembly where the opposition is control, which, by the way, that itself says something about some of these accusations about Maduro being a dictator. What kind of dictatorship has a parliament that's controlled by the opposition? And then we have the court splitting in, I mean, as I understand it was unanimous that the court was in favor of Maduro. So we do have a potential of a real standoff. And what's next now? A split within the military and a real civil war, possibly.
And real quickly, any chance cooler heads can prevail? The way the president walked back his statements on Kim Jong-un, he made nice with him. Any chance the president can make nice with Maduro?
He still has that possibility, but he's made it very hard for himself. When you actually recognize somebody else as a government, you've at least rhetorically, in principle, planted your feet in concrete. He can break his feet out of the concrete if he wants to and walk it back, but I think it would be very hard, somewhat humiliating for him. I think he should do the humiliating thing and say, I misspoke, I shouldn't have said that.
I'm not sure that will happen, but I have a feeling things are not going so well, and we're going to continue to see news out of Venezuela. And as always, we appreciate your expertise on this subject. Thank you so much, James Jatras.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.